We are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us. Holly Ladd's with us. She's a health and nutrition coach, is what I call her. She specializes in functional medicine. And so just to give you an idea of some of the things that she might be able to help you with and vice versa. Yeah, functional medicine, what does that mean?
So functional medicine is a branch of medicine. Like it's not, they have to be trained in chiropractic or medical or nursing. You know, you have to have some sort of a medical degree. And then functional medicine is an additional form of studies where they look at the body as a whole. You know, for example, in the traditional medical world, you know, you go to the neurologist for a brain issue, you go to a endocrinologist for something that's going on with your hormones or thyroid, you go to a rheumatologist for joints, so that you have all these specialties. But the specialties aren't really looking at the body as a whole, they're just looking at the one little individual piece of the body. So functional medicine looks at the body as a whole, for one, and then it looks for imbalances, and there are like all these different nodes, like transportation, detoxification, assimilation, anyway, all these different scientific nodes that they actually look at with these very targeted lab tests that can give you more specific results of what the root cause is, like why is this happening. So for example, let's say you get colds like every 2 months, like you get colds all the time. That's not normal. Like that's not a well-functioning immune system. You go to a regular doctor and they're like, well, you know, just sleep or whatever, take care of yourself better. You go to a functional medicine doctor and they're like, let's test your gut. Let's look at your immune system. Let's see what's going on. Let's look at your inflammation. And so we really look at, you know, in depth what's going on in your body, but then beyond that, the therapies are, you know, mostly lifestyle and nutrition, because we believe that how we fuel and how we treat our bodies allows the body to actually heal. And of course, sometimes you need to be on medications. Of course, sometimes you need extra supplementation. But bottom line, it's sleep, nutrition, exercise, stress management, and relationships, as well as healthy mental, emotional, and spiritual practices.
Most people will maybe say that they hit some of those. It's few that are completely covered with all of them, you know. And so, I mean, that's tricky. And a lot of people, you know, maybe it's just not in the cards for them to do all of them. Yeah,
and you don't have to do all of them perfectly. But, you know, they do all count. Like how many people, I mean, there are people out there that you're like, oh my gosh, they ate a perfect diet and keeled over from a heart attack. Or they ate a perfect diet and got cancer or whatever. Well, were they sleeping enough? Were they stressed out beyond belief? You know, what else was going on? So you can't just focus on one thing. You have to take parts of each of them. And again, you don't have to be perfect in every area, but you have to consider every area.
Well, and it gets to the root question of what causes types of illnesses like this. Now, there can always be a genetic component, which I think what you say you can use to help diminish the odds of that. But you know how they say if you're a mother and you have a history of breast cancer in your family, as we've heard, there can be a genetic marker that increases your chances over someone who doesn't. Now, that doesn't mean you just have to throw up your hands and say, well, heck, I'm going to get it. You can do things to help try to slow that or prevent it. Doesn't mean you will. But are you saying beyond genetic markers, in a lot of these cases when people get sick, you can't always do the cause and effect, but you think almost all of them to some degree could have been prevented?
To some degree, like we're knowing that there's this thing called epigenetics, which is actually the environment in which the gene exists. So the factors that we throw at the gene that are actually more important in your health than the actual gene. So they say, you know, the gene loads the gun, the environment pulls the trigger. So you've got this gene that, yes, you have more of a susceptibility to breast cancer or prostate cancer or, you know, MS or whatever. But if you put that gene in a very supportive environment that doesn't ever turn it on, that says, nope, we're good, we don't need you to turn on, your odds of being healthy are pretty good. So it's this give and take between environment and genetics, and the environment has more influence.
The environment, you think, has definitely more influence.
Definitely.
So this thing, and that's encouraging actually when you think about it. That there's something you can do about it. Because my wife has a good friend whose sister just passed away from lung cancer. never smoked a cigarette in her life.
Yeah.
Now, I know that people can get cancers of all types without having cigarettes or whatever, but still, lung cancer, that's one of them. You just wonder, well, was she in an environment at some point in her life where there was asbestos or something? And maybe there was, or maybe just because of whatever genetic makeup she has, she was more susceptible to just the normal pollutants we all breathe every day, and her body couldn't handle it.
Exactly.
I don't know what that would be, but I mean, I was just scratching my head, the poor woman. I mean, not particularly, older of age, lung cancer, never smoked.
Yeah. That's tough. That's a tough one. But it's true. I mean, like, not only the food that we eat, but we're surrounded by toxicants and pollutants and chemicals. And if your body is not a very good detoxifier, which mine isn't, by the way, you're going to be more susceptible to getting illnesses and inflammation from these things. So you're given the cards you're dealt, and you have to figure out how to live with them.
Let's take a call from Mark. What do you say? Mark, good morning. Hi, Mark.
Hey, good morning, Nick and Holly. Earlier you mentioned teas, and you go to the grocery store, you have Bigelow and Celestial Seasonings, Yogi, other brands of tea, and within those brands you have the different flavors. You have yellow tea, green tea, and then if you go with sleepy time tea, you can detox your body and your sinuses while you're sleeping. What are the best teas to choose from?
Yeah, I know all those brands you said. Those are the store ones, and you see them. And Bigelow, and I've used Sleepy Time. And but what are they? I guess you would say there's different teas for different things.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in tea. That would be like some. You'd have to go to High Garden Tea to ask them.
Well, and tell him though, that's the point. See, I was hoping you'd share that. I mean, he goes like I do, and you see these boxes, and there's a tea section next to the coffee in the Kroger. But there are tea-specific stores, and High Garden is one that they have loose tea, and you can go in there and tell them what it is you want, okay? And Mark, they'll say, well, here's this, and then they'll just scoop it out for you and put it in a bag and weigh it, and you buy it.
Yeah, but if you can't get to High Garden and you don't have a specialty tea place, the first thing I would do is, I think you want your tea to be organic, because tea is sprayed heavily with pesticides, so look for an organic tea. Green tea is a superfood, so it has catecholamines and all these things that are antioxidants, all these amazing things that are beneficial for your immune system and your brain. So I drink green tea regularly.
And some people want to have teas, but caffeine free. And is that a factor? Because I know for a fact that green tea just by itself can have some caffeine in it, but you can get decaffeinated.
Yeah, you can.
Right?
Yeah.
Caffeine-free green tea, any kind of tea almost you can get caffeine-free.
Yeah, and then the herbal teas, that's a whole vast...
Gosh, it's just all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff. Like, you go back to like in India, the Ayurvedic practitioners, right? Yeah. They had teas for everything. China has teas for every ailment. I'm not an expert in that. I think chamomile tea is a wonderful relaxer. Peppermint tea is good for digestion. Ginger tea is wonderful. There's a ginger turmeric tea, which is amazing for inflammation. So, and the other thing to understand about teas over the counter is now a lot of those little tea sachets that it comes in are actually made out of plastic.
Oh,
so
the bags, the tea bags.
So you're putting plastic in hot water, and plastic we just know that plastic is not something that we should.
How do you know? I mean, I remember in the past, or like for instance, the Lipton tea that you use to make maybe your summer iced tea or whatever, the big bags. Yeah. Now some of those seem like fibrous cloth, but you're saying there are others now. Is it a fiber plastic, or they're in a plastic little bulb that you people are dropping in?
It looks like a mesh. So it looks like a mesh, but it's actually made with some plastic.
Is there a way you can find out if the one you're buying has plastic or not?
I think I would just Google it, like Google the tea brand.
So I know you're a believer of not drinking, bottled water that's been plastic and all this, and so try to avoid that. Go for, or that's one of the advantages, isn't it? If you buy the loose tea, and people are like, well, I've got loose tea. What am I going to do with this? You can buy those little metal clamp, the spoons with the spoon on either side with holes in them, boom, and then you put that in there, and it's its own little tea bag.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And I have like a little strainer that fits right in my cup, and I put the tea in
that's
there, pour the
perfect.
water over, and
Just one time through it usually?
yeah, one time or twice.
Or
You
twice,
can go twice.
yeah.
Yep.
So there's ways with that you avoid it. And you have let me say this. If you go ahead with the loose tea, you have an infinite variety that you can buy.
Oh, yeah.
There are so many different. If you ever get a chance, find out where there's a tea store near you that's like that. Even if you're like me and you know, Mark, you know, that buys the Sleepy Time or Bigelow teas, which they're fine. I like going there and just seeing the world of tea.
It's amazing.
And sampling, and they'll let you try different ones. And you're right, there's something about chamomile. When I drink that, sometimes in the winter, if I'm not feeling, just maybe put a little of my honey from my beehive in there, and it just mellows you out.
Yeah.
It doesn't drug you. It just, maybe it's because it's warm. I don't know.
It's medicinal. I mean,
Yeah, chamomile.
Chamomile. So
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad. That was a great question
Yeah.
about tea, Mark. I know more and more people drinking more tea instead of coffee, too.
yeah, it's a great thing. Like my weekdays is tea, and my weekends are my coffee.
Good setup. Listen, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, more phone calls. Jewel and others, if you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to you with Holly Ladd right after this.